right, welcome to my YouTube show and Weirdsville Radio. I'm here with Eric Liljehorn. I did pronounce it right this time, didn't I?
No, it's so horribly bad.
I tried.
Liljehorn.
Liljehorn. There you go. We'll get it. We'll get it. Frontman of Death Pop Radio and In Europe Without Jackets, and a friend that I have not hung out with since forever. How you doing?
You moved away, man. You left us.
I'm a Detroit guy now,
Yeah,
but I have a surprise
cool.
for you. I want to start out. I got something for you.
All right, cool.
You ready for this?
Right on. Look at that. Love voyeurism and kidnapping. There you go, man.
Yes. So for everybody who is listening on radio and can't see what we're doing, I'm wearing a Auditory Hallucination t-shirt, which was your band back in the 2007 to 2014, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. Yeah.
All I'm going to tell you is I bought this shirt when I was in my 30s, and now I'm in my 50s, and this shirt is really, really tight.
Oh, yeah. I believe it. Well, since you showed me that, I got, you know what? This was unplanned, but I got this on my wall right here.
Uh-oh.
Perhaps a little dusty, but.
Ooh. Oh, sweet. Okay, so everybody on the radio is basically the framed CD of their debut album, Auditory Hallucination. That was a great album.
Yeah, love voyeurism and kidnapping.
Yes. Is by any chance is that on Spotify or anything?
I don't think it's on Spotify. You know what though? We still have CDs available because we had like a reunion show a few years ago, and we still had we were able to scrounge up, and we still had some CDs that were actually left over at the time when we did the pressing. I don't know where we thought we were popularity wise, but we pressed a lot of CDs.
Yeah.
just in case, you know. So we have quite a few of them left after years. I think I've got a bunch, and I think Ed and Eric both have some. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it takes to get stuff on Spotify, but if it's little work to do it, I would suggest it because I think that's something if people have a chance to listen to it, they would enjoy it because it's just one of those bands that you couldn't put a label on it. And the harder it is to put a label on, the more I love it.
Oh. Yeah, you know what's so funny about that album too was I think there was 16 songs on it, 15 or 16 songs on it. And I think all of us recorded all of our parts at the same time in one evening.
Wow.
Like and Larry, the guy who was recording us in Elgin, I'm forgetting the name of the studio offhand, but and he was doing some mixing stuff and things on the side, but primarily he was just like, well, let's just do this. And we didn't play anything to a click. There was no real fixes. It was just go play. And we just played. So that energy really came through on it. You know, again, it's like, it was more of a glorified demo than anything, but it still had just a really cool energy about it being done that way that we just went, you know, we didn't even think about it. It was pretty cool.
And everybody I played it for absolutely loves it. So now you're in two bands now. Yep. Let's talk about Death Pop Radio first. Tell me a little bit about that. That's just you and one other guy, correct? For the most part.
Yeah, right now it's a two-piece. It started off actually as a two-piece with DJ and myself, and we actually had reconnected after about 20 years. We hadn't seen one another, and we ran into each other, total coincidence at a King's X show. And I'm not even like a big King's X person. He is, but I was invited by another friend of mine, Dan Milligan. And Dan takes me to the King's X show, and I run into DJ, and he just was like, hey, you know, I'll send you a song sometime. Give me your email. And so he sent me a song, and I almost immediately did some vocals on it, sent it back to him. And then I didn't hear from him for months. I'm like, oh, I must have laid an egg on that one. I just, you know, he didn't think much of it. And then he finally got back to me, and he was like, hey, sorry, I didn't get back. I've been working on, he was doing an instrumental album at the time. And he finally gets back, and he's like, yeah, he's like, he's like, maybe give it another shot. I wasn't like totally loving what you did. And by that time I had kind of forgotten what I did. Most of the time I just improvise a melody the first time through. And then if I like my melody, I'll write lyrics to it afterwards. And so I had pretty much forgotten what I did. So I started from scratch and did another one. And it was a song called Ravens. And Yeah, man, that song came out so good the second time I went through. I knew it as I was singing it. I'm like, oh, he's gonna be back to me with me on this one instantaneously. And he was. That song was kick ass. Like it was just so good right out of the box. I could feel it. And yeah, so we decided to make a video for it and everything. We didn't have a band. We had no plan to do anything further. He's like, we'll just call ourselves Ravens. We'll put out this one video and we'll be done with it. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, it did so well on on Facebook, and I think he had it on YouTube at some point as well. That we decided to put a band together. So we had a band that was together for a while. We did the first album, the self-titled album, and then so yeah, we during COVID we were signed to Dark Star Records, and we distributed that first album. We had some radio play, but COVID really crushed us, man. It was just timing wise. We were getting ready for all kinds of great shows and some other stuff, and COVID just kind of crushed it and kind of broke our will as a four-piece. So DJ and I were just kind of regrouped as two-piece and said, well, we still love to write together, and we've been doing it already for a couple of years pretty naturally. So yeah, we got the new album. It's just about done, and still not sure what we're going to title it yet. I'm kind of leaning towards Party at the Scene of the Crime is kind of what we want. It's what I would like to call it. We'll see. But yeah, it's been fun so far. It's like with two people, it is kind of industrial like. It's got an industrial vibe to it. But it still has a lot of the same feel as the first Death Pop Radio album, also that
Cool.
heavier vibe to it.
Well, if it might be just me, but when I think Chicago music, industrial is one of the first things that come to mind. You got blues, and then you got industrial. So
Right, yeah. And I grew, back in the day when I was in hair bands and doing the poser metal stuff back in the 80s. I my side thing was I was listening to Thrill Kill Cult all the time and listening to Revolting
nice.
Cocks and Ministry, but I was in these, it's just kind of where I was as far as my bands went. It wasn't necessarily what I was listening to at the time. I was kind of all over the place. I went all over, but yeah, and then sidebar completely, there's a band called the Joy Thieves. I don't know if I've talked to you about them at all. The Joy Thieves. If you'll end up down a rabbit hole if you start looking into the Joy Thieves, because that's a little Dan Milligan, who I mentioned, took me to that King's X show. It's a thing that he started. He's a drummer for a local cover band called Libido Funk Circus, but he's always been a writer, done some music and mixing on the side, and he started this thing called the Joy Thieves, which is an industrial band. And he got Chris Connolly from Ministry on it. He's got guys from Stabbing Westward on it. I'm on a couple songs. He's got guys from Blue October. You got guys from all over the place. So if you go to thejoythieves.com, you'll see what is titled The Thieves, and there's about 50 of us now. There's 50, all different people from all these. I can't even begin to list the bands, man.
That's kind of like,
he's gotten people that you would never believe that he would get on this thing. It's crazy.
I'm gonna
really cool.
Have to look that up. That kind of reminds me of a Pigface. Pigface is like that. Every album.
I think some of the guys from Pigface are in the Joy Thieves. Yeah.
Like same thing. It's like Al Jorgensen was in there for a little while. Then Trent Reznor, and the list just goes on and on and on. So a listening audience.
Do yourself a solid. And
Joy Thieves.
Man,
yes. Sure. I'll have to find out if they have any vinyl.
And then the Joy Thieves also did a remix on the Death Pop Radio album, the first album. They did a remix of one of our songs, Like a Bomb. So we have Like a Bomb, the Joy Thieves remix. Really cool.
Nice.
Fun stuff. Yep.
So you've been doing this for about 30 years now, I'm guessing.
Yeah, since 85.
Yeah, tell us like walk us through, because it seems the music business always changed, but also the indie scene. Like, when I was in high school, they'd hang up flyers everywhere. Then they were advertising online. And now, well, I'm not in a band, so I don't even know what people do now to try to get their names out there. It's tell me a story, walk me through it.
Well, I think back in the day, in the early days for me, it was very much that, flyers on the posts, being a presence at whatever club you were playing at, and just collective collecting people in general and making people interested in who you were and what you were doing. It was also a little easier back then. You just had to kind of look apart, and girls sort of went, "Hey, he looks like he's probably in a band." And sure enough, we were. And you invite girls, and wherever you got girls to go, you got guys to follow. So it's just very easy in those days. Just try and look the part and, fake your way through it, fake it till you make it kind of stuff. Um, in the 90s, it was a little bit different. You had grunge coming in, and I think some of the the poser hair guys, that was where they sort of dropped off. They had no interest in the grunge scene or in the alternative rock scene, and they went the cover band routes, or started to. um but yeah, those times were, again, those just kind of natural. If you played a place like the Avalon in the city, you just had a built-in crowd. There was people that were just going. If you played, you might have a few larger shows at places like the China Club or things like that, or you'd open up for a national here and there at the China Club or the Gateway, or even places like the Whale that were still around. So if you could score opening for nationals, that was great. But for the most part, most of the clubs were still pretty naturally, just people were just showing up. They just were into music and showing up. Didn't matter.
Mhm.
um you kind of fast forward into the 2000s all the way to now, and I don't know if it's so much, I don't, maybe I'm not in touch with the scene anymore. As a 53-year-old individual, I'm not sure what the scene is. I can tell you what my scene is and what people my age tend to do. And that's to go see a lot of those people that dropped off and started cover bands and tribute bands. And uh, and that's all fine and good. I think it's good that guys keep on playing and doing what they love. And some guys they just burned out on writing, or they just didn't find any reward in that. And I totally get it. It can be a very unrewarding venture, if especially if your focus is on the wrong results.
Yeah, and
um
if I could jump in real quick, you're
uh-huh.
saying to just no, let's just do the cover bands thing. And I remember at one point you did do a cover band, and you're
Mm-hmm.
pushing it and all that. And I'm like, oh, cool, Eric's doing a cover band. Let's check it out. And I went there, and just my opinion, you just didn't look happy up there. The
No,
band
it's
sounded
never.
great, but
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's
I don't think he's gonna stick with this too long. I think it was just, you
no.
could tell that you were just, because when I've
Yeah,
seen you in other shows, you're performing. Here,
yeah,
it looked like you were doing a job, like you showed up for work.
yeah. And
So
that's kind of, unfortunately, that's the way I've always viewed it. And that's to my own judgment, because I have friends who make a boatload of money and have a boatload of fun doing it.
libido
um
funk.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. The Beatles been doing it for a long time, and they have over 400 or 500 songs in their catalog. They know what they're doing, and
sure.
they enjoy it, and they're able. And especially in the case of someone like Dan, He's one of those oddball guys who can actually balance being in a cover band and still being creative and writing. Very few guys who can have their foot in both sides of that door. So he's really good in that regard. But yeah, it's just never really floated me too much. I have, when back in the day, I was in a band called Stupid Kills, and my drummer from Stupid Kills, he's been the drummer since day one for 16 Candles, which is a cover band of all 80s, rock. And they just sold out House of Blues in Chicago. I mean, they've been around forever. And you're selling out House of Blues. There's national acts who can't do that, and
Exactly.
these guys are. But to me, as much as I love them and they're super entertaining, really fun, if that's what you're into, or if you have a friend who only gets one chance to go out a year and you want to make sure they have a good time, you're going to go take them to see 16 Candles. You're not going to take them to see me and hope they like what I do. And that's totally, totally cool and fun. But yeah, he's been doing it forever. And to me, in defense of what they do, I could never in a million years could I play those songs for that long. There's no way. Like, it's not like you can go do some new 80s songs. There's no new 80s songs. There's just the songs from the 80s. That's what you got. So,
Mhm.
where do you go from there? I'm not sure.
Well,
So yeah.
and it works
That
out for me because I love the stuff you write.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all
Well,
good. Yeah.
thanks, man. I do too. That's why I still do it. I think I'll always do it. I've thought about it many times over the years where I've been in between bands or something like that. And it's just like, I don't care if I come down here and I play a few chords on a piano and just do some tripped out reverbed vocals over, some Gary Newman kind of crap. That's cool by me. I'd do that till I'm dead.
And are there any projects you're working on right now?
No, just In Europe Without a Jacket and Death Pop Radio. Yeah, Death Pop Radio, the second album. That's really got the most of my time right now.
Okay.
In Europe Without a Jacket, we're also recording right now, but that's a lot more organic. We really just kind of record Sean on the drums. I'll play a scratch track of guitar to a click, and he'll do some drums over the top of that. 4 microphones and a drum set. He's using, you can see the Lenny's drum set back here. That's what he's using for his
Oh, nice.
That's his cover band, the Lenny's. And so Sean has that balance where he's doing the cover band thing and the original band thing. So yeah.
So will we see I just got a little warning that we got to wrap this up in 10 minutes. Okay, we're all good.
Yeah, I tend to ramble on these things. Lots of editing involved with me, man.
Oh, and I don't know how to edit, so
good luck.
We're gonna hear all of it. Yes.
Great.
Winding down though, so where can we find you? Where can anybody want to check out your stuff? And by the way, I will be adding the links at the bottom, on the bottom of the YouTube channel, as well as in the comment section on my radio show. And I'll be but yeah, tell us where can we find you?
So for Death Pop Radio, it's just deathpopradio.com. In Europe Without a Jacket, we had a .com. I think that's expired right now. And so anything, if you look up me on Facebook, El Misterioso is what I go under on Facebook. It's kind of like what the persona name is, but it's not like I call myself that or required of anybody. Nobody calls me El Misterioso. It's just kind of a funny name that came from a band years ago. But yeah, you can find me on there. Just look me up, Eric Liljehorn on Facebook, and my links for the bands are on there as well. And then if you go to the Joy Thieves, there's a couple of Joy Thieves things out there on thejoythieves.com, and you'll see all the thieves there.
What about Spotify?
Death Pop Radio's on everything. Death Pop Radio's on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming stuff.
Just look for it. Yep.
I think in Europe Without a Jacket, we're just on Bandcamp. So if you were going on Bandcamp, it's in Europe Without a Jacket's on there. Yeah, that's about it as far as that goes.
All right.
And any other side projects? Nothing right now, man. Enough with these two and life.
All right. Well, we're definitely gonna play one of your songs right now. We're going back and forth. I think I'm gonna go with Death Pop Radio covering I Melt With You, only because I remember around 2007, 2008, when you were with Auditory Hallucinations, you cover that song, and there's quite a difference between the two covers. So I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to share that. Yeah. And Eric, thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, for sure, man. Good to see you.
If
your listeners don't know that we call you granola back here, I guess you're going by Skittles now, and some people may actually call you David. I don't know, but
maybe my wife. But being good.
You're granola in our hearts back here.
I know. It's Now I gotta tell that story now. Yeah, so I'm type 1 diabetic, so I always carry some kind of food with me. And in 2007, cargo pants were still considered cool, right? I think, maybe
they're cool. I'm wearing them right now, man.
Yeah, they're still cool. They're still cool. Yeah. So, I can feel my blood sugar kind of dropping. So I go outside and I start eating a granola bar, and I hear laughing. This is in St. Charles, in some St. Charles bar. I look up and I see you and Dawn and Eric, and everybody's just laughing. And I guess what you guys saw was me standing around a bunch of smokers. So it was like smoker, guiding a granola bar, smoker. By the end of the night, I was granola.
Yeah, that was it.
Pretty much the same story. That's how I became Skittles. So
right, yeah, cool, man.
Next time. So yes, all right. So thanks for coming out. Yep, and this is Death Pop Radio. I Melt With You.
Cool.
Using all my breath, making love to you was never second best. I saw the world thrashing all around your face, never really knowing it was always mesh and lace. I'll stop the world and melt with you. You've seen the difference and it's getting better all the time. There's nothing you and I won't do. I'll stop the world and melt with you. Dream of better lives, the kind which never hates. You should see why. Trapped in a state of imaginary grace. You should know better. I made a pilgrimage to save this human race. You should see why. Never comprehended the race that's long gone by. I'll stop the world and melt with you. You've seen the difference and it's getting better all the time. There's nothing you and I won't do. I'll stop the world and melt with you. You should know better.